Welcome to this recording of the slides from the Navigating the Graduate Labour Market session, which is part of our Careers Essentials series. It's important to know that all of our sessions are part of our career planning process. This session fits into the exploration and job search action plan. So, what is it that we are navigating when we navigate the graduate labour market? It's useful to think about the graduate labour market as a whole when we think about how we fit into it. Let's think about how we fit into it in the most simple terms. Firstly, opportunities that are intended for graduates and opportunities that are not intended for graduates. That will mean you need a degree or you don't need a degree to get into them. There are opportunities that are intended for graduates and some that are not. Essentially, for some roles, it's a requirement to have a degree at minimum to enter. Then there are roles where you do not need a degree to enter. Importantly, graduates do enter into these roles. They do this for a number of reasons. Here are two main ones. The industry they want to enter either doesn't have a large enough number of graduate roles, so they take an entry-level role to gain experience or work their way up, or a person chooses to do a non-graduate role whilst they study, earn money, travel, or just work out simply what they want to do or enjoy. You could mix a number of graduate or non-graduate roles when you leave university. So essentially, you could have 3 graduates doing 3 different things, but are all in the graduate labour market. A graduate scheme and a graduate job are good examples where a degree is either a requirement or a distinct advantage. But you will find that some sectors, a degree is not a requirement to actually do the job, but that most people of those who are working in entry-level roles do have them, mostly because of the types of experience they've gained whilst they're at university. These roles are either permanent or temporary. But there's more to the graduate labour market than just jobs. There are different ways to enter into the labour market, and they can overlap and all can lead to a successful career. You might enter and re-enter the labour market in different roles, and you can gain entry to these opportunities at various points of your study. The graduate labour market is made up of people who are working, studying, volunteering, or not working, even if they're due to start work. Each year, the university asks its graduates what are they doing 15 months after graduation. Here you can see the results from the last 4 annual surveys available. At 57%, most graduates are employed, and most of these are employed in full-time employment. The next most likely outcome, with 90% of that of graduates who are undertaking full-time study, with self-employment at 4% and volunteering or unpaid work at 2%. That's the least likely outcome. Of course, there are derivatives of these outcomes to consider, such as those who both work and study, and those who are not working because they are travelling or have caring responsibilities. In today's session, we will focus on employment and the broader opportunities that fall into this category for students and graduates to access what we call the graduate labour market. Unemployment is also a reality for some graduates. So what are the types of opportunity? Positively, the graduate labour market is made up of different types of opportunity, so graduates can enter into roles and industries in various ways. You may decide to work for someone else or yourself. That might change when your career progresses. So you can enter the labour market through an internship, a formal graduate programme, a direct entry or entry-level role, or do something similar. You may decide to work for yourself or become an entrepreneur, or you may decide to undertake a research role. For example, that could be a fellowship. Let's go into a little bit more detail. Internships are short periods of employment that enable you to experience the work in a particular sector. Often these are for undergraduates, but not always, and graduate internships are a useful way to enter a sector if you have less experience in it. It is common that employers will use an internship to offer you a more established role after graduation, but some industries will do this by default. Graduate schemes are formal training programs, and these are designed specifically for graduates and usually last 1 to 3 years. You may be offered permanent employment as a result of completing the training, but not always. If you're not recruited to a graduate scheme through an internship, then you'll go through a formal interview process, sometimes with multiple stages of selection, depending on the size of the employer. Entry-level roles or graduate roles, not always for graduates, but are the starting point for a graduate in a particular industry. This means you might go into a direct entry into a very specific role. Self-employment. Self-employment represents a range of activities, but essentially means managing your own employment. This could be as a freelancer, an entrepreneur, or owning your own business. You can do this from home, virtually in a shared office, or with an office of a person who is paying you to do the work at the time, particularly if you're a contractor. What binds all these options is that you're in charge of generating your own income through selling a product, skills, or knowledge. There's not normally a HR department, at least to start with. Research roles are what's considered a subsection of the other types of employment, but we've included research roles as they're a particularly important part of the Cambridge graduate labour market. They normally take on postgraduates and require further study, and they can be funded or paid roles. They're attractive routes for Cambridge students, even though competition is tough. So I mentioned on that merit as they do provide financial means. Location is also another thing to explore. This is from Charlie Ball, the head of higher education intelligence. He says numerous city centres across the UK offer thriving job markets, including Glasgow, Edinburgh, Newcastle, Liverpool, Manchester, Leeds, Sheffield, Birmingham, Cardiff, Bristol, and Belfast. Each of these cities generates hundreds, if not thousands, of graduate job openings annually, providing graduates with ample opportunities to launch their careers without relocating to London. And that's worth considering if you're only focused on one particular city. So here's our next step. How can we access the graduate labour market? Well, let's think about who is actually entering to the graduate labour market. In any one year, you will have different people from different backgrounds who are filling graduate roles. You first have undergraduates that are studying to get a graduate job offer from an internship, work experience, or experiential learning programme. You have finalists who have secured a job offer via an application, not through an internship. You have postgraduates who apply and secure graduate roles. And you have alumni who have received graduate job offers or taken graduate internships. Some of these are in their home country, and some people want to work internationally. So what actually impacts the number of forces that impact the labour market? Normally, you have little control over the things that do impact the graduate labour market. Let's have a look at some of the change to graduate vacancies from the UK's top employers from 2009 to 2024. So as you'll see, there are ebbs and flows in the graduate labour market. And you can see the number of vacancies dips and rises depending on the year. As we work through this, of course, we can see that there were a number of great events in this time period that had an impact on the number of jobs available. First, the Great Recession. Then we had the COVID-19 recession. And then last year, the technical recession. This also had an impact on the number of remote roles. So you can see that in 2021, the number of remote or hybrid working roles only increased, but then began to decrease almost immediately after, because people were started to return to the office. The remote roles shown on screen here are based on Cambridge numbers only. So what should you consider when navigating the graduate labour market? We can think of many things, but what about these 5 main points? First of all, our drivers. What are our personal interests and our career drivers? Secondly, timing. When do opportunities become available and when should I apply? Thirdly, location. Where can I work and where do I want to work and where are the jobs located? Fourthly, industry. What industry am I entering and when are roles available? Fifth, type. What type of role am I looking for? There are, of course, other details to consider: hybrid working, salary, external forces on the labour market. There are many aspects of the graduate labour market you can't control: the economy, politics, technology, and when industries recruit. So it's good to focus on what you can control, such as being flexible, staying engaged with the market, doing your research and upskilling. Those are things that you can do to keep yourself on track for when the right opportunity comes along. To use a seafaring analogy, if you're sailing into seas that you know are rough and your boat will hit dry land, but you keep on going anyway because you've made up your mind on that direction, you'll eventually hit dry land. But if you sail in a different direction and explore something new whilst you wait for the seas to calm, you'll stay afloat whilst also exploring something new. When navigating the labour market, it's likely that you'll find that one of these elements will impact the other. So let's take industry, for example. The industry you're wanting to enter will have an impact on the location and the type of role that you want to work in. So if one of those things changes, they will tend to have an impact on the other, and vice versa. So that means in your planning, you change one thing, you might change the other, and that can be positive if you find yourself in a rut. The skills you develop at university and your network will be equally of use when navigating the graduate labour market. You may want to make a note of these elements now as you're working through this video, so you can think about your own priorities. Let's take a closer look at some of these factors. Let's start with timing. Here are the number of opportunities posted per academic year by month. In blue is 2020 to 2021, in orange 2021 to 2022, and in grey 2022 to 2023. This represents around 30,000 opportunities. So of course, the timing of when you want to apply to something will have an impact. You can probably see from this graph here that in Michaelmas term, we have the most vacancies. And in Lent term, we have the least. So of course, the summer takes a dip. You'll also see that some years we have more vacancies than others. Graduate schemes tend to be advertised in the autumn term, whilst entry-level roles tend to be advertised during the spring and summer. There are, of course, variations by industry. I've listed a few industries on screen. In here, we can see that some percentage of roles are advertised in Michaelmas, a percentage of roles are advertised in Lent, a percentage of roles are advertised in summer, and a percentage of roles are available in Easter term. This could, of course, vary when you look at internships. These are the same industries listed previously, but this is just for internships. And you'll see that there are small changes, and there's a slight squeeze on opportunities for these industries being available in Lent, but they come back in Easter and in summer. You can also see in this chart that there are a wider number of internships available for some industries in Michaelmas and for more in Lent term. So thinking really about the industry spoke of your decision-making tree will be important. So what have we explored in this video? We've explored that your drivers are important, the timing that you make with your applications and when to apply, the location you want to work in, the industry you want to work in, and the type of role you want to work in all have an impact on the ways that you enter into the graduate labour market. Let's summarise what we've learned. The graduate labour market involves graduate and non-graduate roles. Different types of opportunities, contracts, and roles exist. You can enter the graduate labour market while still studying or as a graduate. You can plan your entry into the market, and doing so early is key. Different industries will hire at different times, but many have opportunities all year. Do consider the location you'd like to work in. Do consider your network and how they can help you. And do put the effort into your research and preparation. What about you? Maybe you'd like to think of things for you to prioritise. You may like to just take time now to make a note of one thing you've taken from this session, a new type of opportunity you might research further, a resource that you'll use, a person you'll talk to, a barrier you need to overcome. Maybe you'd like to pause this video for 5 minutes. It's helpful to finish on an alumni voice. And this student from our blog says, "You're far from being alone. You don't have to have everything planned out. Make the most of every opportunity given to you, and eventually the chance will come along to find your next steps." Here's 3 things you could do next. Read our graduate digital publications to learn more about specific sectors. Access our alumni blogs and video stories via YouTube, and attend our How to Find Experience Careers Essential session. You can also use the QR code to sign up for our newsletters. Thank you for listening to this session, and I hope that you can join us for the live session next time.